I'll start in about 30 seconds. All right, I think I'm gonna get started if everybody's good to go. I see our board and we got quorum, and I think most of us are here. So good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday, September 17th. And I, Humberto Gurmilan, president of the governing board, call this regular board meeting to order for the San Isidro School District at 5:01. I would like to ask that all members of the board to mute your devices at this time. Trustees of the San Isidro School Board and the public shall participate in this meeting via teleconference. The public may view this meeting by accessing the YouTube link provided on the agenda. Members of the public are welcome to record this meeting using their own personal devices. The district will also make an audio recording available upon request to the district prior to roll call. I would like to make clear for the record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the meeting in the minutes, that this governing board meeting is conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953 and Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-29-20. That moves us on to number 2 in tonight's agenda, which is roll call. And I will ask our superintendent, Dr. Gina Potter, to please help us with roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. Calling the roll call, agenda item number 2, beginning with our board president, Mr. Humberto Gurmilan.
Present.
And our board vice president, Mr. Antonio Martinez.
Present.
And our board clerk, Mr. Rudy Lopez.
Here.
And our board member, Mrs. Irene Lopez. She's here.
Present.
Thank you. And finally, our board member, Mrs. Rosalia Palasigue.
Present.
Mr. President, all 5 board members are here.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. That moves, actually, before moving on to the next item, I would like to ask a couple of questions to each of the board members. I'll start with a board member, Palasigue. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
And were you able to hear our proceedings up to this point?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of tonight's agenda?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Trustee Palasigue. I'll move on to Trustee Irene Lopez. Can you hear me well? I know she can. But
Right. Yes, I can, sir.
Thank you. Were you able to hear our proceedings up to this point?
Yes.
And do you have a copy of tonight's agenda?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Rudy Lopez, Board Clerk Lopez, can you hear me well?
I can.
Excellent. Were you able to hear our proceedings up to this point?
I could.
And do you have a copy of tonight's agenda?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Board Vice President, Mr. Martinez, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up to
Yes.
this point? And do you have a copy of tonight's agenda?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. I would like now to request that any board member speak up at this time if the board member has any reason to believe that those persons representing themselves to be a board member are not truly so. Hearing no comment, the record should reflect that no board member has expressed doubt that the board members participating by teleconference are not so. That moves us on to item number 3, which is tonight's agenda. I will now ask each board member if they have any corrections or additions to tonight's agenda for this item. And all items, I will always ask each board members or ask board members for an opportunity or give up an opportunity to speak, addressing each board member in turn. So at this moment, do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda as is?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So Trustee Irene Lopez moves and board member Palasigue seconds. So no changes, right? And Dr. Potter, can you help us please call a vote for this item?
Calling for the roll call vote, agenda item number 3 to approve the agenda, beginning with board member Mrs. Rosalia Palasigue. Board member Mrs. Irene Lopez.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. Board clerk, Mr. Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
Board vice president, Mr. Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
And board president, Mr. Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. The agenda is approved as is, and we're now moving on to number 4 on tonight's agenda, which is public comment communications on closed session items. Persons who wish to comment on topics included on closed session items were invited to submit comments via email to the following email address: publiccomment@sysdschools.org on or before 3 p.m. today. Comments were limited to 300 words or less. All comments submitted regarding closed session items will be read aloud at this time. Please note all email correspondence related to this meeting will become part of the board minutes. I will now ask our public relations coordinator, Mr. Francisco Mata, see if there's any public comments for closed session items.
Good evening, Mr. President and governing board. No, we do not have any public comments for closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mata. That moves us on to item number 5, which is closed session. And with no public comments for this, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
So moved.
So Mr. Martinez moves to adjourn to closed session,
I second it.
and Ms. Irene Lopez seconds. Dr. Potter, could you help us call a vote for item number 5?
Calling for the roll call vote to recess to closed session, beginning with Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. We'll now adjourn into closed session, and we'll be back for the open session meeting at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.
Come on. Ah,
Hello again. Are we missing anybody that should be here? I think we're ready to start. So we're ready to start our regular board meeting. So I'm calling this meeting to order again after reconvening from closed session. And we're reconvening at 6:06. It's 6:06. So I, Humberto Gurmilan, president of the governing board, called this regular board meeting of San Isidro School District to order. I would like to ask that all members of the board to mute their devices at this time. Everybody else also in attendance. Trustees of San Isidro School District Board and the public shall participate in this meeting via teleconference. The public may view this meeting by accessing the YouTube link provided on the agenda. To listen to this meeting in Spanish, please call 1 area code 443-839-0666 and enter the code 611-065-964#. Si usted quiere escuchar esta junta por medio de vía telefónica, marca el número 1-443-839-0666 y la clave es 611-065-964 del signo de gato. Members of the public are welcome to record this meeting using their own personal devices. The district will also make an audio recording available upon request to the district office. Prior to roll call, I would like to make clear, and for the record of this meeting, it should be reflected in the minutes, that this governing board meeting is conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953 and Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-29-20. So now I will ask our counsel, Mr. Sanchez, to please report out actions taken during closed session. Sanchez?
Yes, and this is for item 5.3. The board voted unanimously to ratify a settlement agreement in the amount of $25,000 in case number 37-217-0045786, and that was for item 5.3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. That moves us on to item number 7 in tonight's agenda, which is roll call, and I'll ask Dr. Gina Potter, our superintendent, to please conduct a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling the roll call, coming out of closed session, beginning with board member Rosalia Palasigue.
Yes.
Board member, thank you. Board member Irene Lopez.
yes.
Thank you. Board clerk Rudy Lopez.
Here.
Thank you. Board vice president Antonio Martinez.
Present.
Thank you. And board president Humberto Gurmilan.
Present.
Mr. President, all 5 board members are here.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. I will now ask these questions again real quick to see if everybody's hearing well and everything. I'll start with Trustee Palasigue. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
And were you able to hear all of our proceedings up to this point?
Yes, I was.
And do you have a copy of the agenda tonight?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Palasigue. Ms. Irene Lopez, can you hear me well? I think you're muted, but I saw that you said yes.
Yes, I can.
Were you able to hear us up to this point? Everything?
Yes,
Okay. And do you have a copy of the agenda?
yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, can you hear me well?
I can.
Were you able to hear up to this point all of our proceedings?
I could.
And do you have a copy of the agenda?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, same questions. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up to this point?
Yes.
And do you have a copy of tonight's agenda?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. I would now request that any board member speak up at this time if the board member has reason to believe that those persons representing themselves to be a board member are not truly so. Hearing no comment, for the record, the record should reflect that no board member has expressed doubt that the board members participating via teleconference are not so. So now, item number 8 in tonight's agenda is the flag salute. I will ask those of you here in attendance to please unmute your microphones, and I will lead us and guide us through our flag salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. That moves us on to item number 9 in tonight's agenda, which is public comment, communications on open session items. Persons who wish to comment on topics included on an open session agenda item or on items not on the agenda were invited to submit comments via email to the following email address: publiccomment@sysdschools.org on or before 3 p.m. today. Comments were limited to 300 words or less. All comments submitted items will be read aloud at this time. Please note that all email correspondence related to this meeting will become part of the board minutes. I will now ask our public relations coordinator, Mr. Francisco Mata, to see if there are any comments for open session items. Mr. Mata.
Good evening, Mr. President, Governing Board, Cabinet, and guests. Yes, we do have comments for the open session. First comment, San Isidro Community Action, and it's the board, just in general board meeting of 9/17. To whom it may concern, SYSD should not consider returning until January. Opening sooner than other districts is reckless, especially when San Isidro has the highest rates of infection in the county and flu season is starting. No amount of safety precautions will completely stop this virus, which is why nurses keep dying. Additionally, children are young. Some will not even know they have underlying conditions until it's too late. In 1918, 50 million people died. In 1855, 10 million people died. Pandemics are deadly, but we are fortunate to live during a time of unprecedented scientific advancements. Can you imagine explaining this decision to someone in the 1918 pandemic? Quote, yes, we have vaccines and treatments on the way that will save us, but we just don't want to be inconvenienced. In fact, we are so advanced now, we even have computers and technology where people can learn without coming into contact, but we will rather risk death, unquote. By January, doctors will have a better treatment and possibly a vaccine. Considering breaks, November 9th through January is only 5 weeks on campus. Why risk so much for so little? San Diego Unified consulted with scientists directly and decided to keep their schools shut until January. Why is San Isidro being treated differently? If anything, SYSD should be more protective of our vulnerable community, not less. Are their lives more valuable than our lives? A couple of months of distance learning is a small inconvenience compared to the magnitude of death. Death is final. Death is an empty seat at a family table forever. As board members, you are entrusted to what is best to protect everyone and not cave in to convenience. If you choose to go back prematurely and someone dies, it rests squarely on your shoulders because you had other options. You just chose to ignore them. End of comment. Next comment, Natalie La Rosa, and this pertains to agenda items 12.2 and 12.3. Good evening. 12.2. I would like to take the time to thank you all for considering extending distance learning for the rest of 2020. You might know I'm personally not a fan of distance learning at all. Days like today, when I get kicked out of my Google Classroom several times, I just want to give up and cry. But I know it's in the best interest of the San Isidro community to continue online for now. I am grateful that you're concerned for everyone's health. We truly miss our students and working in our classrooms, but we know it's best to wait to avoid a possibly life-threatening illness for our students and families. Moving on to agenda item 12.3. As for the attendance plan, I want to make sure that the board is aware that the new requirements by the state for attendance and accountability during distance learning are still being worked out at the state level. The document produced by the California Department of Education that was intended to be optional was adopted by some districts and resulted in an extreme increase in workload in the form of meaningless paperwork at a time when teachers were already overwhelmed with distance learning. I appreciate that Mrs. Potter has not mandated this document and is waiting for the state and for our work group to figure out more streamlined way of meeting the requirements. This way, we can focus on this new way of teaching. Thank you. Sincerely, Natalie La Rosa, SYEA President. Moving on to the third. This has to do with reopening of schools from Maria Kai. Superintendent Potter and members of the board. My name is Karina Kai, and I am a first grade teacher in our district. I am writing this letter as a student and community advocate to express my support to delay school openings until January 2021. As a parent, a teacher, and a member of the San Isidro community, I believe the discussion surrounding the opening of our schools should solely focus on the health and well-being of our students, staff, and our community at large. As COVID-19 keeps spreading, medical experts have shared that the virus not only causes a threat to life, but it also can cause lifelong complications such as permanent lung and heart damage, as well as neurological damage that leads to the loss of coordination and, in more severe cases, loss of cognitive function. Therefore, I urge you to consider continuing our school year in a full online model and move towards a hybrid model in January of 2021. As you make your decisions today and the upcoming weeks regarding the reopening of our schools, I plead that you keep in mind the health of our teachers, students, staff, and community as a whole, and to remember that education, which can be done virtually, is important, but it should never be valued over human lives. Tonight, I ask you to be the leaders that San Isidro needs right now and show us that you care for our teachers, students, staff, and community by making the right choice. Thank you for your time. Respectfully, Karina Kai, first grade teacher. And that is the end of the public comments, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mata. That moves us on to item number 10, which is items from the board and superintendent. And I'll just go in order here on our agenda. I'll ask Trustee Palacio to see if she has comments.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have many comments for today. It's been everybody's been in heavy work mode. I just want to say that I appreciate our staff for the amazing job that they're doing. I've received amazing feedback, and myself, I'm a parent, so in the district. So my feedback is I can hear the dedication. And no, I'm not eavesdropping on my daughter's classes, but we work near each other, and I see her engaged, happy. She feels connected, and I've heard the same from some of my parent friends in the community. So I applaud you. I applaud your courage during this time to do something new. I know it is a monumental effort. And all of us are learning to do commerce in the same way, and it's a new way of life. And I personally, and I have shared my sentiments with Dr. Potter, that I personally am for keeping distance learning through the end of the year. I'm in support of that for everybody's health and safety, and for the sake of human lives. I don't want us to lose sight of that. I understand there are two sides to everything, but in this case, we can recapture education. I would rather triage it next year, whatever, maybe if we missed something and we can go back and fix it, but we cannot replace our health. We cannot replace our lives. So I am in support of waiting through the end of the year. I am anxious to see how things unfold coming from a state level. There are adherences that we have to abide by. So I know this is going to continue to unfold, but I want to appreciate all the work that you all are putting in. But we'll keep moving forward, and we'll keep our eye on what is most valuable right now. I know I'm trying to do that. So onward and upward, and here's to a great school year, and to everybody's health and safety.
Thank you, Ms. Palacio. Ms. Irene Lopez.
Oh, good evening. I know a lot of us have a lot of other things that we do. Are not able to always be present at some of the back to school presentations, but I was able to be online with preschool, and it was a very nice presentation, beautiful work that they did. But I got to go into some of the classrooms, and I got to hear concerns from parents, the same that we hear now, regarding that they are more comfortable with distant learning, and they didn't want us to begin. I guess, they thought we were going to come back in November. And so their question was, why come back? Why interrupt our kids right now? Our kids are small. They don't understand that. So I did let them know that we don't know yet. We're waiting for the state really to give us the go and see how it comes out, because we still have time. But at the same time, we're looking as board members and our community, we care. And we're really focused on safety. The most urgent thing of all is safety for all of our children, for our staff also. So I'm glad now they're hearing that we're not going to go back until next year. We'll see. Hopefully we will be able to. But it was a very good session with the parents, listening to how their kids were really improving in their social. Even though they're not there, it was nice to see what the art and that the teachers are focusing on, trying to bring a better way of communicating. So I want to congratulate the staff at the Ocean View Hills and Sunset and Smythe Preschool. I think the teachers are doing a beautiful job. And it's a beautiful age that you see these little children, be able to adapt and be able to do and show. So it was very nice. And I want to thank Dr. Parter, because some of the families were, not very many were on, because there were teachers saying that it was very hard for them to get into the system. So I did talk to Lorena. She said she would get parents' names and addresses so they could actually go see these hotspots. And I know that we're working on that. And I know it's not easy for our technology department. And also Mrs. Lorena Varela did let the parents know that they're short right now, but they did receive tablets. They were short Chromebooks, but it takes time to really actually program the tablets just like the Chromebooks. And I know our tech guys are really hard workers, and I want to thank them for all the job that you do, and Mr. Lewis. I know it's not easy. So hopefully parents know that their children will be able to have a tablet or Chromebook soon. The other thing that I got to be into, because my granddaughter goes to Smythe, and I didn't go to Mr. Little's coffee with the principal in the morning, but I got the email. I got the actual how to get in the evening. So I was present in his evening, and it was very nice to hear from him. As usual, he had very nice presentation with a lot of information for the parents in both languages, and showed what they're trying to do and how hard they're working with teachers. And it's very nice to see that. So I want to thank them for all the work they do and the presentations that they did. And that's another school that I let them know that we need to know that the teachers know which students are not able to come into the classroom or have problems. So we need their names. We need their names so you can address it to Dr. Potter or the technology department, so they can actually go into those hotspots and find out, with it. And I know that we also have increased the level of Google, which I think is going to help. And there is a lot of other families that I know. I told them, listen to our board meetings, go in and listen. And if you have a comment, let us know. What is it you feel? What is it that you think we need? And I think that's real important. I go, but we need it for you to tell us. If you don't tell us, we don't know. And we think everything's okay. But that's why you have a teacher. That's why you have a principal. So I told them, talk to them, let them know who you are, let them know what your problem is with either your child going in or not being able to get back into the system. So I know that working together, we can do this. Communicating is very important. And I hope that we continue having that communication every day, okay? And so thank you, everybody who's done a lot to keep us going, and we'll continue. And we hear you. We hear you that it's best for all of us, especially now, not to go back into session until next year. So we pray that we'll be able to do that with our kids and with our staff. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you. I just wanted to echo Ms. Lopez's comments about communication. I know there's a survey, a family survey going out right now. And I think, God, it's just like the census. We're way behind everybody else in replying to the census. And if we're talking about money and we're getting less money, we have to do better at answering these things. The census is one of them, but for us on a more micro level, for the district, our families need to reply to these surveys. We've gotten just under 50% of our families that have responded, but we need to do better than that. Staff is going to start contacting those families who haven't responded, because we need to know what our families need from us. This is one thing where we can't guess. We can't guess that, you might need in-person services, or you might be okay doing distance learning. And then somebody's going to be upset when we say, okay, well, we're going to put you in this group. And we just, we've got to change our culture and our way of thinking. So please do everything you can to encourage our families to respond to us, so that we can provide you the service that you need. Again, this is a community effort. It's not a top-down thing. I appreciate everybody's continued patience. And there's one suggestion I did want to make to staff. I know we spoke about it earlier. I think we've got an agenda item today about a purchase that we'll be making. And I think it's important right now to, on the agendas itself, in the title maybe, is that where we indicate where we're getting money from, especially right now, because we are getting CARES funding. And we do now have bond money to cover some items. So I think it's important to, at the very top, just say, we're getting this from here, or getting this from there, so that people know that we're not making, in light of maybe less funding during the pandemic, to be more transparent about where we're getting some of this funding, and that we're using those funding sources properly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Martinez, Vice President Martinez.
Yeah, thank you, President Gorbilan. I just want to give a very special thank you first and foremost to all of our staff. If you were to tell us a year ago that we'd be here doing the things that we're doing now, I said that's near impossible, particularly when it comes to the distance learning. So really special thank you. And I really want to give a special thank you to Dr. Potter, particularly for being the superintendent that listens to not only our parents, but also our classified staff and our teachers. And that communication piece has been one of the most important aspects in our success so far in distance learning, which I've heard nothing but good things. When it comes to the public comment today, I am in agreement with the comments that having the opening starting in January is the right thing to do. And even then, it's going to be a blended learning opening. So we're always going to have, at least for the meantime, a sense of distance learning anyway. But in my opinion, based on not just the public opinion, but also the fact that the safety of our children and our staff is the utmost importance, I am in support of opening in January of next year. When you talk about what we're going to be experiencing, again, not just now, but next year with the digital divide, I want to essentially let everybody know that I participated in a webinar today with the Communication Workers of America. Particularly, the goal was to address the issue of the digital divide, particularly in our school district. And I felt honored being invited by them to participate in the webinar, because our school district has it harder. Bottom line, when it comes to the students that we have in our school district, a lot of them are transitional homeless. So when you talk about the challenges that they face, they're already facing challenges. They're facing challenges even before COVID. They're facing challenges getting to school. They're facing challenges having food to eat and having a stable learning environment. A lot of the kids that we have don't even have a place to know a stable environment where they're not going to put their head at night to sleep. So on top of that, add COVID and distance learning. I mean, we're asking a lot. And so, first of all, I want to give an applaud to our wonderful staff for obviously handling those challenges successfully, in my opinion, and continue to do so. I know we will. And in my opinion, we need to be part of that conversation because, frankly, I've always felt San Ysidro School District has always been shortchanged. And when it comes down to what we should get, I really feel that it's important for us to be part of that voice in addressing the digital divide, because again, this distance learning is not just going to be now, it's going to be next year too. It's going to be with blended learning. So I really just want to applaud, a couple of things that I addressed in the webinar from our end was the California Public Commissions grant that we received, a Utilities Commission grant that we received to help buy Chromebooks. I also wanted to emphasize the hotspots that we received to help the kids that don't have access to the internet. So we received 1,050 hotspots. So I just want to again thank our staff for making that happen. Thanking Dr. Potter for making that communication happen and really setting the standard. I'm getting calls from other school board members from other school districts asking how we're doing it. And frankly, that says a lot. And for me, it shows that we're going to be, at the forefront of this conversation of the digital divide. And I know that whatever happens, we're going to be all right. And that's all, and thanking Dr. Potter for that and the rest of our staff, of course. The other thing I wanted to bring up is related to our master facilities plans, particularly with what we're going to be using the bond money for, and more importantly, what we're going to be doing with the buyer's Skype. I know that the part of the conversation before, and this was around when COVID hit in March, was that we wanted to ensure that these meetings that we have to discuss it with the community are held in public. But obviously, I never would have thought in March that COVID would continue for so long. So in my opinion, I know that we have a deadline for those issues. We should continue with those meetings, even if it means having them online. And I do want to say from my end, I wanted to give at least direction to our staff to handle that. And obviously we do it, we invite who we need to invite and make it, transparent and formal. But I think that we need to start having those meetings to address those issues. Again, buyer site has been an eyesore for the longest time. So I just wanted to say if we can start doing that, and obviously, hopefully we'll get to a point where maybe we can have a public meeting on that, and who knows how it will look, But I just wanted to just say that, again, thank you to everyone. And at least from my end, let's keep going. I think we're on a roll. I think tonight we're going to make a good decision as a board. I feel that, again, going back to my previous point that January 1st January seems like a good time to start. I think that's where I'm at from my end. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Good evening, everybody. First off, I just want to thank everybody that has helped put this meeting or our meetings together. I know sometimes we forget to thank the people that make this meeting or these meetings possible. I know we've been doing them now for a while and we're getting good at these, but there's still a lot of work and we appreciate that. I briefly want to say I was able to be at a press conference this week where there was work together from PK and the district and I think AT&T and I won't get into the meeting, but I was just really happy to see how we're working through the issues as a community, as a group. I think everybody that's within our district, everybody that's providing services to our families, to our homeless population, to our parents. There's a lot of work that's being done behind, the scenes. And I just wanted to recognize everybody that's been working in this district to make those things happen, to provide the services that we're providing to our families and to our students. And I want to echo what Mr. Lopez was mentioning about the survey and communication, we need to know what you as our community needs so that we can provide that. And right now, I know that there are a lot of individuals in this district working diligently, more than they were working before the pandemic, to make sure that our students and our families have food, our students and our family have services, and everything that they need to do to continue being successful in a school year. That's obviously a more challenging school year than we've ever had or ever envisioned in our lives, probably. Obviously, want to thank the teachers for all the patience and for all the hard work that they're doing, and the families. But really, just wanted to, generally speaking, thank everybody that's been working really hard to make things happen. Like Mr. Antonio says, I think we're actually doing really well. And I know there's a lot of hiccups and there's a lot of challenges out there, and we would like to hear about these challenges so that we can tweak what we're doing. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. I'm just really proud to be part of this district and to be a part of this family, and to see everybody working so hard and working with all that passion to make sure that our district moves forward in these challenging times. And there's still some time to go. I mean, I know we're looking at, holding off on opening or closing and all that. That's going to be something that's going to be very challenging. And I think it's a day-to-day thing. So we should continue, obviously, putting students and staff safety as a top priority. But let's keep seeing how things happen. I mean, I think it's just so difficult to look ahead. Let's just focus on students' education right now and do the best job that we can so that our students have the resources and the education that they need. And we'll figure those things as we get forward and as things, develop in our country. But I also agree, student safety is the top priority. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. Just wanted to share those thoughts. I will now transfer the microphone to Dr. Potter, whom I also want to thank for all her work behind doors and behind the curtain. Dr. Potter, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I feel like I get to be the Wizard of Oz for a quick moment behind the curtain. So thank you. 4 comments that I would share with everybody. The first comment is a big thank you to the remarkable leadership and solidarity of our governing board members. All 5 of our governing board members participated last Thursday in our first governing board workshop of the school year. And it's just amazing the vision and direction that they've established for our district to move in, particularly in the midst of the coronavirus worldwide health crisis. So I thank our governing board for their leadership and for their vision and for making safety a priority in our district. I really thank you. The second comment is a big thank you to our school principals and to our teachers and our classified staff who've been making the school virtual back to school night events absolutely wonderful for our children and for our families. I've seen some amazing principal and assistant principal video presentations to our families, and had such the joy of seeing our teachers present not only about the curriculum and scope and sequence of what students will be learning academically, but expressing their genuine care for their students and their families, particularly during this very difficult time. So I thank you to our teachers, and I thank you to our principals and classified staff for working so hard right now to keep our students and our families and our community together. Thank you so much. The third comment is a big shout out and to say to our technology team and our business team and all of our staff members and our board members for really also prioritizing the pillar of connectivity for our families. I am so proud to share that we have almost 100% of our families now connected via the internet. We have a select few families that we need to get hotspots out to at this point, but most of our families in all 7 of our schools, including preschool to 8th grade, have internet connectivity. So thank you very much to our families, to our district. Big shout out to our staff members who wrote the CPUC grant and the support of Senator Hueso for our district. Those are the funds that were used to receive the 1,050 hotspots, along with the partnership with the County Office of Education for making our district first to get all those hotspots. They came in last Friday. So for those families who've not been able to connect to the internet, either due to cost of the internet or due to the fact that maybe the internet in your area is not working so well, please stay posted, because within the next week or two, we're going to be taking names of families and staff, by the way, who need hotspot connectivity. If you could just let your school principal know, and your principal is going to be giving us lists of families and staff who need these hotspots by next Wednesday. So please let your principals know. I want to really thank our board president for representing our district at the PK press conference, where we were thanking AT&T for their very generous donation to help our parents be successful during this pandemic. AT&T also donated several tablets for some of our parents and distributed those tablets with the help of PK at Smythe Elementary School recently. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for representing our district at that press conference. And then another thank you to Mr. Martinez for bringing to our district the Communications Workers of America partnership. That's a new partnership for our district. We sincerely appreciate that partnership. Not only were they able to secure some hotspots for our families through AT&T, they're also going to be helping our district advocate that our district and our community in San Ysidro and Otay Mesa also are recipients of the 5G network that is about to be built in the future, and that we're not left behind. So thank you very much for doing that. Mr. Lewis and your tech team, wow. I'm just tired thinking about how many Chromebooks and laptops and hotspots that you've been programming and imaging. Just amazing for the small yet mighty team that you are in our district. Thank you so much. Right now, they are programming 100 Hewlett-Packard laptops that arrived also last week for our teachers that don't have good devices to do as expertly, be able to navigate and utilize these laptops for their distance learning teaching. My final comment is just to give a sincere thank you to our governing board members, a sincere thank you to our leadership with SYEA and CSEA, our staff members, and also our families for truly putting safety as one of our top pillars of this school year during the COVID pandemic. Because together we've put safety as our priority, it allows our district to make this very important decision tonight at our board meeting to extend the Distance Learning Academy to the end of December for all of our students in all of our schools. Thank you, everyone, for staying together during this pandemic, juntos in our community. Thank you for understanding and being patient as we really try to keep everyone safe, and for understanding our district waiting until January 2021 to begin offering the Blended Learning Academy. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Thank you, fellow board members. That concludes our items from the board and the superintendent, and we're moving on to item number 10 now in our agenda, which is reports and presentations, and 12.2, actually 11.1, I should say, is 2020-2021 Instructional Program Phase Timeline Extension with Director of Executive Services, Cynthia Gonzalez.
Good evening, Board President Gormilan, board members, Dr. Potter, and members of our community. Tonight, I'm here to present to you the 2021 Instructional Program Phase Timeline Extension. Long title, I promise, short presentation. We just have one slide for you tonight. So these are the three phases that we have been working with since we launched this year. Phase 1 is the phase that we are currently in. It's an all distance learning academy. That academy phase is set to expire on September 30th. And as we move into phase 2, we're proposing that we extend that distance learning academy from its original end date of September 2020 through the end of December 2020 for all of our students for both elementary school and middle school. During this time of continued distance learning, we will be opening an option for virtual tutoring beginning in October, as well as the possibility as a limited option of ACES childcare on campus, and some in-person opportunities for assessment and supports for targeted and specialized groups as is required at this time. This would just extend us from October 1st all the way to December 18th, which is the end of this year in that distance learning academy model. The only adjustment we would make at the elementary schools is on November 19th, our second trimester begins for our elementary school students. And we would be using the data that we gather from the parent surveys and from calling the parents who don't reply to the surveys based on their choice for distance learning or blended learning for their own children when we try to launch that in January. But assigning at that point in time, November 9th, the teacher that would be their permanent teacher for the rest of the school year. So they would either be have a distance learning teacher at that point or a blended learning teacher at that point. So there would be no more change in their teacher of record after that. Then we would move on to phase 3 in January of 2021, where we would bring on board the blended learning program, but continue to offer the distance learning academy for our families who would like for their children to continue in that program. And in January of 2021, we would like to begin with a phased-in approach. So it's not all the kids on the same day starting school, but an opportunity to really phase in slowly so that we keep focused on a smooth reopening and a safe reopening for all of our students and staff. And that's what I have for you this evening. Any questions?
Fellow board members, any comments or questions? I'll start with board member Palisi.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for explaining and re-explaining it to me in our board agenda review earlier in the week. I appreciate the time that has gone into this. I know this is very complex. There's a lot of moving parts. Would you mind, just for clarity for any parents listening in, if you could reiterate or repeat the portion of the plan with regards to the teacher change? What the timing and with what the time frame we have and what we're adopting now, how that would look for the students as far as teacher changes. But I know that's of huge importance to parents.
Absolutely. So for our middle schoolers, that's the easy one. Our middle schools are on semesters, so they wouldn't have a teacher change until January. And typically that's where they would have a teacher change if they were going to have one anyway. So that would be kind of a normal thing. For our elementary school students, their second trimester begins on November 9th. So the elementary school students have 3 grading periods throughout the year. They have one in November, they have one in March, and they have one at the end of the school year. In order to maintain the students having one teacher for the entire grading period, for November 9th, which is the beginning of the second trimester, we would take our students and divide them into groups of our blended learners and our distance learners. And we would then place them with a blended learning or a distance learning teacher based on the choice that their family made for them. And that would be the point where they would get a new teacher if they were going to get one. They may remain with their teacher. It just depends on the choice the family made and the assignment that their teacher has.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cynthia, I had a parent ask me, I don't know if maybe she didn't understand, but I think that's another one that maybe the dual language. She wanted to know that if she remains on the distance learning, that she'll remain with the same dual language teacher. And what she didn't understand was, I understood that if I decide to leave her, that she may not get it the next semester, the same teacher. It might be a different one.
It's exactly the way that you understand it. It's possible that she would have a different teacher depending on the teachers that we have staffing distance learning and the teachers that we have staffing blended learning. So those would be the things that we have to consider once we have all of the information back from our parents. And that's why it's very important for them to answer the survey. And we will follow up with parents who don't answer the survey to try to make sure that we have the information and they're able to make the choice based on their family needs.
I try to explain to her that maybe because some of our teachers may not be coming back, and maybe due to the COVID, because they may have family in their home or they have children, and that causes also them not being able to come back. So they said, but I want her to remain with that teacher. And I go, it just depends. We have no control of that. We don't know. And also, I think that's another thing that maybe principals can talk with their staff regarding that, because it was also a question from a preschooler parent that had a child in the elementary. And I think they need to talk to those parents and explain to them that it depends. And also, I kind of threw in, well, it would be costly because then we'd have to hire more teachers. And right now, the way we're going, it's very hard. So it just depends, I go. So maybe that's another way we can let them understand and see, what the problem is really is whether we need to know how many kids, how many teachers we're going to have available also.
Yes, absolutely. That staffing and then the information from the parents is very important for us to be able to organize all of this logistically. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I do like your presentation. It's very clear. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Mr. Lopez, any comments or questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Martinez, comments, questions?
No, I just wanted to thank you, Cynthia, for this wonderful presentation. I do agree with Ms. Lopez that it was swift and accurate. It was beautiful, actually. Particularly, I want to emphasize, and I want to give our team a very special thank you for also including in phase 2. And I want to emphasize that the virtual tutoring option, as well as possible childcare. When you talk about a lot of the challenges that our families face, especially if you have parents working 2 to 3 jobs, is essentially childcare options. So the fact that we're going to be offering that, that's something special. So I just want to again thank you and thank our team for making that happen.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. I don't have any comments. Just want to say thank you to everybody for just being ready for what's coming. It seems like everybody's just ready to pivot, to change. If something gets thrown at us, we duck, and it's kind of like a boxer. Everybody's like doing the bob and weave. So I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. So, and thank you for the presentation. Appreciate that.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Potter, any comments or anything to add? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Thank you so much. And that concludes our reports and presentations. That was quick. Number 12, general administration tonight. We're moving on to number 12 and actually 12.1, which is minutes. And item 12.1 is to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 13th, 2020. So do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Ms. Irene Lopez moves on the minutes, and Mr. Martinez seconds. Dr. Potter, would you help us with a roll call vote?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.1, approving the minutes, beginning with board member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
board member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
board clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
board vice president Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
and board president Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. That moves us on to 12.2, which is amend the 2020-2021 instructional program phase timeline extension. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Irene Lopez moves and Trustee Palasiga seconds. Any discussion? No further discussion? Okay, Dr. Potter, could you help us please with a roll call vote?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.2, board member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
board member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
board clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
board vice president Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
board president Humberto Gurmilan,
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. We're moving on to item 12.3, adoption of the learning continuity and attendance plan for 2020-2021. Do you have a motion to approve?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Lopez moves and Ms. Palasiga seconds. Any discussion? Dr. Potter, could you help us with a vote for 12.3, please?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.3. Board Member Rosalia Palasiga.
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez.
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Item 12.4, nominations, CSBA Directors at Large, Asian Pacific Islander and Hispanic. Do you have a motion?
President Gurmilan, I'd like to, if it's okay, unless anybody has a person to nominate, but I'd like to make a motion to not to take an action related to this action item.
So, Mr. Martinez, does anybody have any nominations? So I don't think so. I guess the motion is to not take action on item 12.4.
I would second that motion to not take action, only because I don't know any of the current candidates, and I don't have anyone to nominate.
Can we just not make a motion and just go to the next item?
Or
Well,
do
it's an action item to make a motion. I've already made a motion in a second. So we need to vote on that. I already made the motion in a second.
So we just basically vote to not nominate. I think that maybe just for clarification, just clarify for the record, item 2.4, where Mr. Martinez moves to not take an action, not to nominate. For clarity, not to nominate any directors at large candidates. And Ms. Palasiga seconded it. So if there's any further discussion. Okay, so I'll ask Dr. Gina Potter to please call a roll call vote for us.
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.4, beginning with Board Member Rosalia Palasiga.
I guess that would be a no, right?
No, it would be a yes, because whatever you would want actually, but if the goal is to not pass my motion, which is not to nominate someone, then your vote would be a yes. But
Yes.
obviously you can vote whatever you'd want.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And Board Member Irene Lopez.
You got me mixed up now. No, I vote that we were not going to nominate anyone.
So
that would be a
then
yes.
it's
Yes.
a yes to take no action.
Take no action, yes.
Okay, thank you. And Board Clerk Rudy Lopez.
I'm not sure. Just kidding. Aye.
I think he said aye, meaning yes. Board Vice President Antonio Martinez
Yes.
and Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. Gurmilan, the vote passes 5-0 to take no action.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Item 12.5, annual public hearing regarding insufficiency or instructional materials in Williams settlement legislation. And I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
So
Second.
Mr. Rudy Lopez moves, Mr. Antonio Martinez seconds. And I will ask Dr. Potter for a vote.
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.5. Board Member Rosalia Palasiga.
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez.
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
And Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
So the hearing is open. Do I have any comments or questions regarding this item?
Any public comment from Mr. Matheson?
I don't believe so, but.
No, I'm sorry, there's no public comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
So without any comment and for any further comment from board or superintendent, we'll close our hearing. We'll move on to 12.6, annual public hearing regarding insufficiency of instructional materials and Williams settlement legislation. This is to close the hearing. I'll move on this.
Second.
And Mr. Antonio Martinez seconds. Dr. Potter, could you help us with the vote, please?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.6. Board Member Rosalia Palasiga.
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Item 12.7 is Resolution 20/21-0012, determining insufficiency of instructional materials for fiscal year 2020-2021. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
I'm sorry, who did the first motion?
Did you do the first? Sorry,
No,
when you
no,
said
I
I'll
did.
entertain a motion. Sorry, I misunderstood. I'll make
So
the
Ms.
motion.
Ms. Palasiga moves on item 12.7. Do I have a second? I'll second it. So 12.7, Dr. Potter, are any comments? No. Dr. Potter, could you help us with a vote for 12.7?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.7, Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
and Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Item 12.8, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee bylaws for measures T and U revised. Do I have a motion?
So
I
moved.
make the motion. Oh,
I heard Mr. Rudy Lopez moves and Ms. Irene Lopez seconds. Any comments? Dr. Potter, could you help us with a vote for 12.8, please?
Just clarifying, Mrs. Lopez, were you the first or the second?
No, I was the second.
I have Mr. Lopez as the first and Ms. Lopez as a second motion.
Thank you. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.8, Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
and Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Item 12.9, resolution number 20/21-0015. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Palasiga moves and Ms. Irene Lopez seconds. Any discussion? Dr. Potter, could you help us with a vote, please?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.9, Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. 12.10, Education Protection Account Prop 55, Expenditure Report for fiscal year 2019-2020. This is an information item. So I don't know if there's any comment or any questions or anything.
I'll ask our Chief Business Official, Ms. Marilyn Adriansen, if she'd like to just give a brief overview summary of the Education Protection Account.
Yes, the Education Protection Account is a funding source included in the local control funding formula and this is known as the EPA. And every year we are required to report to the board and to the public in a public meeting or in our governing board meeting and on our website, the expenditures of the use of these funds. So for 1920, we use these funds. The EPA funded certificated teacher salary and benefits.
Thank you, Ms. Adrianson. Any questions from our board?
Mr. President, where is this information displayed? Is it on the website?
Yes, it's on our website. I think it's under the business services section of our website.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
Ms. Adriansen, would you mind emailing to all board members tomorrow the web link to our website with the Education Protection Act account
Yes.
information? For the purpose of the board agenda this evening, it's also embedded within the BAA, board backup.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Potter. Okay. So are we okay to move on? Excellent. 12.11, COVID-related technology stipend for management staff. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Ms. Lopez moves and Mr. Lopez seconds. Any comments? Dr. Potter?
Mr. President?
Oh, yes, go ahead, Mr. Lopez.
This is the item I had referred to previously, where I just wanted
Oh.
to make sure that people realize that the funding source is the CARES Act. It's one-time funds. It's not coming from a general fund or any of our title funds. It's CARES Act, specifically related to COVID.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Any other comments?
Sincerely appreciate that clarification, Mr. Lopez.
Dr. Potter, could you help us with the vote for 12.11?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.11, Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. 12.12, revised management salary schedule. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Rudy Lopez moves, Trustee Palasigue seconds. Any discussion? Dr. Potter, could you help us with a vote, please, on 12.12?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 12.12, Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Now we're on item number 13, which is our consent calendar. All items appearing are adopted by one single motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to consideration of the motion, unless a member of the board or superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent calendar and voted on separately. At this time, I will ask board members, see if they have any pulls or would like to move or remove or pull any items from the consent calendar.
President Gurmilan, we have to make a motion a second first, and I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr.
Second.
Martinez makes the motion
I'll second.
and Ms. Palasigue seconds.
And
Thank you.
no pulls from my end.
None for me.
None for me. Ms. Lopez, Mr. Lopez? No?
Nay.
Okay. Okay, so we're ready to vote on item 13. Dr. Potter, could you do a roll call vote for us, please?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 13, consent calendar. Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. And now item 14. Without further ado, it's adjournment. And I will entertain a motion for adjourning our meeting at 7:10. Anybody?
I'll make
Really? You don't want to go? Nobody wants to go? Who made the first? Ms. Palasigue, you make the first?
motion.
Okay. Ms. Palasigue makes the motion and Mr. Martinez seconds. I guess there's no discussion. Dr. Potter, could you help us with a vote, please?
Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 14, adjournment. Board Member Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Clerk Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
Board Vice President Antonio Martinez,
Yes.
and Board President Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0 to adjourn our meeting at 7:10.
Wow. Congratulations, everybody. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Monica Miguel and Mr. Lewis for everything they do to make this meeting happen. See you at the next one, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Great
night.
job. Good job, everyone. Good job. Thank you.
I didn't even eat my cookie.
Didn't even open my box yet. So proud of you. Great job.
Thank you, everybody.
Really well done.